Welcome to a tutorial on the theory of mind task battery. This tutorial lasts approximately 25 minutes and is designed to give you an overview of the purpose, development, content, administration, scoring, and interpretation of the theory of mind task battery. The theory of mind task battery was developed and validated by Tiffany Hutchins and Patricia Prelock and copyrighted in 2010. Today's presentation is delivered by Jennifer Campbell, Caitlin Legary, Maggie McCarthy, and Samantha Taylor. The Theory of Mind Task Battery is available for purchase and download at theoryofmindinventory.com. Materials include the Theory of Mind Task Battery. This is the topic of this presentation. Long and short score forms for the Theory of Mind Task Battery, which will be described a little later on. The technical manual for the Theory of Mind Task Battery, which contains detailed information about the development and administration of the Theory of Mind Task Battery. It offers information about reliability and validity of the tool and also gives norms tables so users can compare scores for a client to norms for typically developing children. When you purchase the Theory of Mind Task Battery, you also get access to its sister tool, the Theory of Mind Inventory 2, or ToMTB. It is an extremely well-validated caregiver informant measure of theory of mind. It is also a broadband measure, so it is quite useful in developing theory of mind profiles because it samples a very broad range of theory of mind competencies. Along with the ToMTB, you also get the technical manual for the ToMTB, the ToMTB Guide to Clinical Decision Making, as well as access to HIPAA-compliant, web-based ToMTB administration, scoring, and report generation. The Theory of Mind Task Battery is a direct assessment of theory of mind. It is normed on typically developing children ages 2 to 13, but can be used for older individuals who are at risk for poor theory of mind outcomes. More specifically, the Theory of Mind Task Battery results are both interesting and informative when scores for individuals older than 13 years fall in the low average or below average range. This is because ceiling effects occur for typically developing children around age 13, so the normative scores for persons over 13 is expected to be high and near or at a ceiling score. So when it is not, this can yield useful information. Another advantage of the Theory of Mind Task Battery is that respondents can respond by pointing, and so unlike most other tests of direct performance, it can be used with nonverbal individuals who are at risk for poor theory of mind outcomes. The Theory of Mind Task Battery can be used for both research and clinical purposes. The Theory of Mind Task Battery was developed to tap a range of theory of mind areas. The domains were chosen following a review of literature on theory of mind assessment in both typically developing children and children with autism spectrum disorder. The tasks were adapted from a number of other researchers so as to compile a more comprehensive assessment of theory of mind. A major goal was to develop a tool that would tap theory of mind areas that varied widely in content and complexity. So we wanted to represent different theory of mind knowledge sets from those that are easy and mastered early on to those that are more difficult and mastered much later in development. The Theory of Mind Task Battery was also co-normed and co-developed with the Theory of Mind Inventory 2, which is an even more expansive parent-informant assessment tool. The Theory of Mind Task Battery and the Theory of Mind Inventory 2, or the ToMTB, have the following subscales. The early subscale is designed to assess the earliest theory of mind achievements, which are seen in typical development in late infancy and early toddlerhood, approximately 1 to 3.5 years. There is a basic subscale that taps theory of mind developments that typically emerge in the preschool years, about 3.5 to 6.5 years. And there is also an advanced subscale that taps more mature theory of mind developments that emerge in late childhood, around 6.5 to 8 years. The Theory of Mind Task Battery was normed on 96 children between 2 and 12 years of age. 41 children had received a formal diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder and represented a range in terms of autism severity and language and intellectual functioning. The remaining 55 children were typically developing children who were also between 2 and 12 years of age. Using this sample, the theory of mind task battery was found to be highly reliable in all areas assessed. With regard to internal consistency, which is an estimate of the degree to which items on a measure tap the same construct, in this case the intended construct is theory of mind, a Cronbach's alpha was very high with a value of 0.91, which is considered excellent. Participants were also given the theory of mind task battery at 2 points in time to assess test-retest reliability. Test-retest reliability for the autism spectrum disorder and typically developing groups was good or excellent for all but 3 of the original items. Those 3 items that did not perform were subsequently omitted or revised to enhance reliability. With regard to validity, the theory of mind task battery scores were compared to scores on a parent information measure of theory of mind called the theory of mind inventory, or the ToMTB, which resulted in a strong positive correlation of 0.66, which is a demonstration of the measure's convergent criterion-related validity. More details about the psychometric properties of the theory of mind task battery are available in the technical manual for the theory of mind task battery, as well as Hutchins et al., 2008. The theory of mind task battery is a child performance measure of theory of mind. It consists of 15 questions embedded in 9 tasks labeled A through I. The test is presented in storybook format with color illustrations representing persons from a variety of racial and ethnic backgrounds. Items are presented in ascending difficulty, the order of which was empirically determined. Memory control questions are included and must be passed in order for credit to be given on the test questions. The theory of mind task battery includes the following tasks. Task A is designed to assess basic emotion recognition, specifically the facial expressions stereotypically associated with happy, sad, mad, and scared. Task B is intended to assess children's understanding of desires. More specifically, this task is designed to tap the understanding that people are happy when desires are satisfied. Task C taps the notion that seeing something provides access to knowledge, so in order to know what is inside a box, I need to look inside to find out. Task D is intended to assess the understanding that people may not see the same thing depending on positioning. Task E has one additional layer of understanding compared to the seeing leads to knowing task. For perception-based action, the child must understand that 1. Knowledge can be gained through visual perception. For example, seeing keys on a couch leads to knowing that keys are on the couch. And 2. That knowledge drives behavior. For example, knowing the keys are on the couch will result in seeking behavior such that the person will now look for the keys on the couch. Task F is a first-order false belief task. Task G assesses the understanding that beliefs, as well as events contrary to beliefs, can cause emotion. Task H is designed to measure a child's ability to infer a belief of another person when interpreting a statement of desire in the context of a change in location. In the theory of mind task battery, this is accomplished through the use of a classic false belief task, but instead of asking the child where someone will look for an object when that object has been moved, the child is required to infer the character's desire and is asked what someone wants. Task I taps second-order false belief, which has been demonstrated to be the most difficult item in the task battery. Thorough descriptions of the source and content and rationale for each item in the Theory of Mind task battery is provided in the technical manual for the Theory of Mind task battery. When preparing materials for the Theory of Mind task battery, it is important that the test booklet is printed in color and on separate sheets of paper. Tabs should be included in the booklet to make it clear where each task separates. There should be no opposing pages where the child can look back at the previous page to figure out an answer. Task D is the only exception where it is necessary that pages be opposing. This task requires the respondent to consider a character's perception or line of sight. The child must be able to examine the images at the same time to avoid this task becoming a test of photographic memory. Thus, these are the only pages in the battery that are opposing. For all other tasks, the pages appear one at a time, and the child is not allowed to look back to see the preceding pages. To administer the theory of mind task battery, the administrator and child should be in a comfortable and quiet environment. The administrator should be seated next to the child with the test booklet placed flat on a table between the two parties. The administrator should start by introducing the test as an activity to the child and say, "I am going to read you some short stories and ask you questions about the story. You can answer with words, or you can point to the answer." We find that when children try to read along, it can actually interfere with performance. When possible, discourage the child from reading along. Instead, emphasis should be on looking and listening. The administrator should read the text verbatim while pointing to the images that correspond with what is said. This reading should be done at a relaxed and slow pace. After reading the text on a page, we also recommend that the administrator silently count to 3 to allow the child a few moments to process the language and images. It is crucial that the administrator points to the relevant images on the page. Pointing should be used during task administration to make salient the relevant aspects of the stories that involve people and what they think or want. When what people think or want is represented by thought bubbles, an administrator should always be pointing to the people and the thought bubbles when they appear in a task. Here is an example using just the first page of Task E. This is Franklin. Franklin wants his keys. Further, pointing during task administration makes salient the relevant aspects of the stories that involve perception, that is, what people see or don't see. For example, several tasks require that the respondent consider a character's perception and what they can see. When these aspects are present, they should be emphasized through pointing while reading. Here is an example using Task D. Jasmine is at the park. Vince is also at the park. Jasmine and Vince are looking at a statue. When Jasmine looks at the statue, what does she see? Not only should administrators point to people, thought bubbles, and what people see, but they should also be pointing to response options whenever response prompts are given or required. Here is an example using Task B. This is Bryn. Bryn wants to eat a cookie. What does Bryn want? If the child does not give a response, you can prompt with, does Bryn want a cake, a cookie, a lollipop, or a candy bar? For most of the questions within the Theory of Mind task battery, there are 2 levels of prompting. The exception is Task A. If the child does not respond to the first 4 emotion tasks in Task A, the question is simply repeated a maximum of 2 times. For the rest of the test questions, there are 2 levels of prompting given to them. The Theory of Mind task battery uses a short or a long scoring form. The long form includes these prompts, while the short form does not. The difference between the 2 forms will be explained later in the slideshow. For now, it is important to note that if you believe that the individual you are assessing will require prompts to complete the task battery, we recommend that you select the long score form for that administration so that you will have all the prompts at your fingertips. No prompts are given for control questions. If a child does not respond, it constitutes failure for that control item and the associated test question. Optional justification questions are available for 10 of the 15 test questions and take the form of an open-ended question such as, why will Bryn be happy if she gets a cookie? Or, why will Anthony look for the book on the table? Scrutiny of responses to justification questions can provide the clinician with a better understanding of a child's reasoning behind a response. Sometimes, a child can identify a correct answer in the context of a multiple choice format, but can still have significant difficulty articulating the reasons or justifications for the correct response. Thus, Justification questions can be valuable to gaining additional insights into the nature and quality of a child's theory of mind. Of course, justification questions require a verbal response, and so they are only appropriate for individuals with relatively good verbal abilities. In short, they are intended for individuals who have relatively good verbal abilities and who are likely to perform well or at ceiling levels on tests of theory of mind, but who nevertheless exhibit difficulties in social cognition. With regard to procedure, justification questions are not used for control questions, only correctly answered test questions, although in order to get a test question correct, the respondent will already have had to answer any associated control items correctly as well. Be sure to familiarize yourself with the procedures for asking justification questions. In particular, it is important that the administrator record the response to justification questions verbatim on the score form for later analysis. When employing justification questions, a variety of scoring options are available. One option is to conduct purely qualitative analysis and to look for patterns in cognition or communication that might reflect gaps in theory of mind knowledge and suggest areas of clinical focus. Another option is to score according to an ordinal scale, where values reflect variation in the completeness or correctness of a response. Further examples and suggestions for scoring justification questions are provided in the Technical Manual for the Theory of Mind Task Battery for how to score for the degree of correctness or completeness of a response. There is a stopping rule in administration of the Theory of Mind Task Battery. If a child provides the correct response to the control question, all test questions are administered within the task, regardless of performance on test questions. The testing should be terminated when the child responds incorrectly to any 5 control questions in succession or not. When this number of control questions is failed, performance factors such as attention and motivation, and child factors such as limitations in general cognitive functioning, language comprehension, and/or working memory are probably responsible. Thus, performance on further tasks cannot be considered a valid indicator of theory of mind functioning or understanding. There is one exception to the stopping rule. Many children enjoy the activities that make up the Theory of Mind task battery and prefer to read and respond to all pages in the booklet. In these cases, the battery may be completed, but the items that follow the stopping criterion are not scored. Now we will move on to scoring the Theory of Mind task battery. Scoring should be completed during the administration of the test and should be done as covertly as possible as to not distract the respondent. There are 2 score forms available, including the long form and the short form. Both score forms make it clear when to skip items and provide spaces to score responses as well as to write answers to justification questions. The long form may be desirable when the test is administered by those who have limited experience with the battery, or if the child is expected to need a high degree of prompting. It includes the specific prompts that should be given if there is no response from the child. The long form also provides information about the construct being tapped by each item. The total score is the number of correct responses to test questions. Possible scores range from 0 to 15, with higher values indicating greater theory of mind knowledge. Because test items are organized in ascending difficulty and later items reflect more developed theory of mind knowledge, assessment of raw ordinal scores in isolation may obscure theory of mind knowledge when early items are failed and later items are passed. Fortunately, this is rarely the case. Recall that the Theory of Mind task battery has the following subscales. The early subscale, designed to assess the earliest theory of mind achievements, which are seen in typical development in late infancy and early toddlerhood, approximately 1 to 3.5 years. There is a basic subscale that taps theory of mind developments that typically emerge in the preschool years, about 3.5 to 6 years, and there is also an advanced subscale that taps more mature theory of mind developments that emerge in late childhood, around 6.5 to 8 years. It is important to recognize that other factors beyond theory of mind understanding may be influencing a child's performance. This is true for any measure of direct performance, and it is one reason that we strongly recommend that the theory of mind task battery be used whenever possible in conjunction with the theory of mind inventory 2, which, as a parent-informant measure, is not vulnerable to child performance factors. For example, a child may not fail an item because of a theory of mind deficit, but instead might be challenged by the attentional, linguistic, or cognitive demands of the tasks. It is important for clinicians to interpret the results with caution, particularly for items where the child does not pass the control items, which are designed to test memory and comprehension of the stories. In this situation, it is more appropriate to attribute failure on the task to failures of attention, motivation, executive dysfunction, or language or cognitive deficits. In fact, often a combination of these factors operate in concert, and perhaps even with other factors such as the misunderstanding of the pragmatics of the test-taking situation. If a child provides incorrect responses to control and test items, it is interpreted as an impairment in theory of mind understanding. In this case, the clinician can look for patterns in performance on the theory of mind task battery by examining both item and subscale scores. Specifically, clinicians can examine scores to try to determine the point at which performance declines. It is recommended that treatment progress from early to basic and finally advanced theory of mind constructs. Of course, researchers or clinicians may also be interested in norm reference scores to determine whether a child is at or below what would be expected for his or her chronological age. Norms tables are provided in the technical manual for the theory of mind task battery. A tenet of good assessment is the use of multiple measures. Interpretation of theory of mind performance as assessed by the theory of mind task battery can be strengthened if the clinician uses the results of the battery in conjunction with the theory of mind inventory 2. Recall, the theory of mind inventory 2, or the ToMTB, is a parent-informant measure that is not complicated by child performance factors like language, cognition, motivation, and attention. As such, it is a good tool to consider for children who tend to fail control questions on the theory of mind task battery. Moreover, the ToMTB is a broadband measure, so it will yield a more comprehensive portrait of theory of mind functioning as assessed by caregivers who know the child best and have observed the child trying to solve theory of mind problems as they are presented in everyday, real-world samples of behavior. Nevertheless, the theory of mind task battery and the theory of mind inventory 2 were co-developed and both have corresponding early, basic, and advanced subscales, so it is easy to compare subscale data across measures to look for consistencies and inconsistencies. With that, we conclude this presentation on the use and interpretation of the theory of mind task battery. For more information, please see the following sources. We hope this presentation was helpful in answering any questions you might have about the theory of mind task battery. More detailed information is also available in the technical manual for the theory of mind task battery.